Bitcoin has recently been as stable as Fed statements regarding the condition of US economy, no matter how it really looks. So if the cryptocurrency industry is speeding up regarding improvements in the greatest pace since 2017, why the prices of lots of crypto assets are so boring? Today we're gonna discuss over a bit more about crypto industry, and we'll talk over about US economy as well. So welcome to the program. Today is the third episode of Block Revision. My name is Rafał Leszek. Let's begin. Firstly, we are going to the market mover section, and as normally we are heading through the economic calendar. Yesterday we had, as we were speaking, PPI gauges that was higher than expected. Instead of 0.6 we had 1%, and it's quite worrisome for the US economy because the analysts can't really find this as something that is under control. The PPI is very high. Headline CPI we could find yesterday that turned out to be the highest since 90s. So right now Fed statements remain stable, but I don't know how long this can last, because there are lots of economists that claim this inflation can't be really transitory. So we will speak about it in a moment. As of next event, we had a BOC monetary policy report in which we have found that interest rate decision remained as it was at quarter of point. So right now we can find this decision may precede of what may happen in 28th of July, because on that date we will find what is the Bank of Central Bank of US monetary statement. If the Canadian Central Bank decided to stay as it is, we can also suspect that the US decision will be the same. Then we've had GDP for China. We were talking a lot yesterday about it, and as it finally turned out to be lower than expected, I find it disappointing, because we have halved or even more than halved since the previous statement. However, it may also tell us how difficult the post-pandemic rebound of the economy may be. Right now I'd like to jump higher back to the crude oil inventories that was on Wednesday, where we got, here, crude oil inventories. We can find that final gauge was much lower than expected, and we can also find that it may imply greater demand and maybe bullish for crude price. However, today we have initial jobless claims in USA, and these metrics turn out to be as forecasted. So we can find that's with high probability will don't change Fed's mind in terms of how the economy approach there would be. And finally we have retail sales in USA month-over-month gauge, and also we can find that this growth has lagged that of the overall economy and missed analysts' expectation for the first 2 months of the second quarter. So right now we'll find out how this gauge will look. And we are heading towards economy view section, and starting with the news that policy tapering weighs off. So as he said on the Congress meeting to the journalists, there is nothing in the guidance of our framework that would prevent us from doing the right thing at the right time, he said. And so it means anticipation in order to get through this long-lasting inflation. Why long-lasting? Because it is speeding up and getting out of control, so it would be very difficult to slow it down finally. So we also have the central banking panel of Thursday, where some questions may be answered as well, but may change Fed's mind. I don't think so, because the initial jobless claims of today was as it was before. So right now Powell is definitely trying to push back on the idea that they are under pressure to exit, that they have decided to taper soon. Yeah, the labor market has a long way to go. Bearish for the US economy may be also a chart of US T-notes that found an open interest lowest since end of May. So right now the yield on benchmark 10-year Treasury notes fell as much as 7 basis points to 1.35% Wednesday. And right now the question is how an overheating economy amid faster reopening could force Fed to pare back its ultra loose monetary policy sooner than expected. So I think the initial jobless claims may get lower to the expected levels, but it may last much longer than it seems. And also BlackRock CEO Fink doesn't see inflation as transitory. So there are lots of voices around that find this situation as quite worrisome. Right now Fink says, I'm not calling for 1970s inflation, but I just think we are going to have about 2% inflation, probably closer to 3.5 to 4%, as Fink said in an interview with Reuters. And we are getting into indexes outlook, and for me the most important right now in order to what to look in indexes is a comparison US 100 to to Russell 2000, and I can find here that we are decoupling. Usually in the healthy market conditions, Russell 2000 used to grow much higher than US 100. Right now the situation is reversing, so it means that money flows turn to the more liquid assets that are tech stocks, 100 the most liquid tech stocks, and it may also be a sign of that some money is exiting the market. Right now I would like to bring to you this chart from Bloomberg that cheap stocks trail growth shares by most in 2 decades. However, the spread of cheap stocks and growth shares right now is getting higher than the previous months. Also, short sales against small cap stocks have more than doubled in recent months, so lots of investors are betting against Russell 2000, and we can also move towards a north direction from here. However, this decoupling is a little bit worrisome. Now gets to the crypto outlook, and we can find, let's start from the beginning. So Bitcoin has a serious problem since May of this year, because regulators claim that electricity usage of Bitcoin is too much to keep it sufficiently green. For example, China's banned Bitcoin miners flee in search of cheap electricity. So Bitcoin miners are exiting the country in order to look for the another ground for establishing their mining hardware, and the Chinese government decide that it's right move in order to keep the electricity of the country cheap. However, there is some contradiction, because as we have found on CoinDesk, that almost all Chinese provinces have blockchain boosting policies. So I don't know why the government support the startups that may have a blockchain boosting policy, and why right now it's make miners exiting its country. So I don't know, it's maybe just some of the inside game that may impact some of the specific lobby, and also as we can find, the total hash rate of Bitcoin is really suffering right now. It's during the largest drop down since the Bitcoin has been mined. And we can also look for the answer regarding whether this miner crackdown would be useful for the Bitcoin and will be strengthening this chain or not. So I would say that the dispersion of Bitcoin mining has certainly become disruptive, as you can see on this chart, but in the short term. On the long term, I would say it becomes a bigger factor for the possible higher decentralization of Bitcoin. That is its main power. Bitcoin is kind of a self-adjusting system. So whenever just there's a drop down in the total hash rate, there are some of the miners that are waiting aside and trying to make the opportunity of this job. So right now we can find that profitability of mining Bitcoin has increased with this drop of a hash rate, because it's not so difficult to mine Bitcoin right now, and it should allow the network to complete its automated balancing act, and we would see whether we'll turn back to this all-time high levels very soon, or will we wait longer than it's forecasted, longer than this year. That will be interesting to watch. There are news such as miner net position change is getting up to a positive area, and finally in the beginning of July it turned out to be as strong as nearly 2.5 K. So the miners are getting back towards the chain. However, it's still lots need to be done in order to get to the levels as it were before. And also a long-term holder net position change has turned positive, and it's getting above 250 K. So it's the long-term outlook for the Bitcoin is still not unsafe, but the short term we may obviously get still lower in price. And there's a interesting chart prepared by Adelphi Digital, where we can find that short-term holders are decreasing rapidly since 21st of June this year, instead of long-term holders that are accumulating since that time. There's a also very worth discussing chart that represents balance on exchanges of Bitcoin that is right now decreasing as it was during the bull run. However, this trend is very weak, I would say, and it may be just a stop before another leg higher. So it would also mean a further drop in Bitcoin price. Here you can find Bitcoin futures trading volume, and after this formed in May peak of the chart, we are trending lower. And in the past, the crypto derivatives market has frequently exceeded the spot market. Right now, this trend has reversed, and after this more than doubling by mid-April, spot market became the place to be. The lack of interest in Bitcoin has its also the consequences on the whole market, and for instance, MetaMask, that is the service that allows users to swap their Ethereum based tokens at current exchange rates, right now is suffering lack of total interest. Something that may also make us bearish is the number of transactions that get down to this 2018 levels. Here you can find the performance of the tokens that entered the market in June 2021. So you can find there's not very optimistic right now after this very robust first and second quarter. Right now in June, the market is slowing down, and also we can observe it into in this IDO and ICO market. Okay, but why market is right now so silent? The market may be scared of the event that may happen on July 19th. Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, that is the world's largest digital assets fund manager that allows institutional investors to gain exposure to Bitcoin through shares in the trust that currently holds about 650k BTC, allows in this month to unlock investors the BTCs and have the option of liquidating their shareholdings in the secondary market. But right now, as we can find, this GBTC may sell at a loss. So I wouldn't suspect that it may impact the BTC market so much. No of the investors, I guess, wouldn't sell at a loss, so market is scared of this event, but finally it may happen with the big trend reversal for the BTC, so it's also very important to watch. Now let's get into trade idea, and it will be BTC USD, as we are approaching a very interesting level at 30k. So right now I would turn my eyes into a RSI indicator, and we can see that we are sticking more and more to this trend line. Now, this trend line may show us the trend of this RSI, and undoubtedly it's right now the bearish one. However, it's starting getting more and more bullish, as we can find there is a support around this area. So similar situations we had in the past. For instance, in 2019 we have formed this bearish divergence on the daily, and we have found that broke of this line has brought us to this 2-month lasting bullish period. Another one very important sign of a trend reversal will be rebounding from the 30k level of this area. So it's very important to watch. Maybe on 19th of July some of the signs of the strength we may see. So any single daily close below 30k may get us lower to this 24k area. So right now we are in this sideways movement, and we are witnessing bumps and dumps with prices slowly grinding higher before being quickly slammed down. That may be a sign of a low liquid market, and due to this low liquidity, I would stay on the sideline by at least that time we've mentioned, 19th of July, where the Grayscale Trust may stop eventually offloading their bitcoins, and maybe I would wait longer if there any price movements will turn up, any significant price movements will turn up in order to await this Chinese regulatory crackdown chaos. So right now, yeah, there are lots of bearish signs. However, just bear in mind there are lots of people, lots of investors is expecting to move lower, and bear in mind it's always easier to create a possible short squeeze just to bring us higher than just to push lower, where lots of money on the sidelines awaiting, and there are lots of also support documented. So yeah, just watch this area, watch this 30k level, and just stay cautious. Okay, so that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching, and see you tomorrow.